Detachment is not cold and unfeeling. Actually, detachment means letting go of everything that limits us, everything that turns off the real love. Detachment means becoming identified with reality.
Welcome to the Krishna Das Pilgrim Heart Hour. In this podcast, Krishna Das shares his warm-hearted and down-to-earth path to the divine. If you are interested in supporting Krishna Das's podcast, please go to BeHereNowNetwork.com/KD.
Take some questions and stuff. Let's see. Any possibility we'll make a CD with all these slow tempo chants? Hey, wait a minute. I'm going as fast as I can. Well, I did do a CD which is very deep and slow and meditative. That was the last one I did, I think. It was called Peace, P-E-A-C-E, of My Heart. And that came about when a very dear friend of mine who works with learning disabled kids, autistic children. She teaches yoga and body awareness with them. And she always played my chants when she's working with them. And they love it. They zoom right in. They get really present. But when the chants would speed up, the kids would get nervous, get distracted again. So I said, oh, okay, I'll make a CD that doesn't speed up. And we did. So you might want to check that out. Peace of My Heart. What and from where you did course or study meditation in Bodh Gaya, please let me know. I'm also interested in doing that. How long was the course which you did and what was your experience there? Well, I don't think those courses are going on anymore in Bodh Gaya. But in those days, they were the only courses going on in Vipassana meditation. And we studied with Anagarika Munindra and Mr. Goenka, who gave his first courses outside of Burma, where he was living. He came back to India and started giving courses there. And we took his first 4 courses in a row, 10-day courses. So depending on where you live, you can find probably Buddhist meditation courses, Vipassana or mindfulness courses. These are very useful because they are non-conceptual. They don't depend on you believing anything, having faith in anything special, joining anything like that. They were very pragmatic. They work directly with the mind, calming the mind. First step is to calm the mind a little bit, which is not easy. So you can find wherever you are, if you look up mindfulness courses, and then try to find something that a teacher that has a lot of experience and has good connections, good lineage, because that's helpful, very helpful. It means that the teacher has also done the work themselves, which is when you're teaching meditation, you really, if you're teaching driving, you need to know how to drive first. And you also need to know how to teach it. And that's not something that's that simple. There's a lot of things that come up as we begin to calm down and work with emotions that if you don't have the experience yourself, you can't really help people. So, okay. So Do you have any recommendations for handling heavy grief of a sudden death of a soulmate? I know he is with me in spirit always, and that we are all one, but my heart and mind ache for his physical presence. Well, yeah, I mean, in some strange way, the grief is part of the connection. I don't think you need to work with the grief. I think you need to feel the grief. Because when you're feeling the grief, as painful as it is, you're also feeling the presence of the loved one. And as time goes on, that sense of loss thins out a little, so to speak. And you feel the presence without the pain as much. The missing is okay. You can. I still miss Ram Dass, and yet I feel he's with me all the time. But I still miss our interactions and all the jokes and the fun and the deep times we had together over 50 years. I don't mind missing him. I don't know if that sounds weird. Because it's a way of feeling him also. And you just have to accept also that everything does change and bodies come and bodies go. It's not the body you loved. It's the person inside the body. And of course, that person doesn't really go anywhere. The body was just a vehicle for it being in this world. But the real person, the soul, the real person, is always with us, always here, over lifetimes after lifetimes after lifetimes. So I would say just don't fight the feelings. Don't try to push them away. They will morph into a deeper presence. It would definitely morph into a deeper presence as time goes on. And the love doesn't die. The love never dies. We're human, you know. We feel all kinds of things. It's okay to feel bad. It's okay to grieve. But eventually, you let go of the unhappiness and you focus, you feel more of the actual being with you. Katie, do the words of the chant make a difference? They seem to be the flowery words of love, devotion, respect for the Guru or God, or are they a vehicle for the harmonic that inspires a spiritual feeling and connection? Well, if I say that that the words of the chants don't make a difference, that wouldn't be true. But if I said that they do make a difference, that wouldn't really be totally true either. It's our relationship to what we're chanting. For me, all the names refer back to the love that I experience with my Guru. To some degree, mostly. And with the great beings that I've met who manifested that kind of love. If you listen to somebody else, there are other people who talk about these things. They might talk about it in a different way. They would say, no, only this name is the only name that matters. This is the best way to do it. And if you agree with that, then that's what you should do. If it makes sense to you, if it feels right. That's not the way it works for me. All these names feed into the same place for me. I mean, they do have, in a sense, they have different qualities. But for me, all those qualities melt into the love, into the presence, the feeling of presence, and the deepening of that feeling of presence as we chant. So that's the real meaning, as far as I can tell. Other people say different things. You know, sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. That's the way it goes. So you just have to find out what works for you and how you can go deeper into it. But for me, all the chants bring me back into the presence of Maharaji, Siddhima, and the great beings that have, from whom I receive so many blessings, who've let me into that place of love and being and presence. My 9-year-old daughter and I love your work. A few nights ago, she was complaining about fears and nightmares. You know, this COVID time has been very hard on kids, very hard on kids. They don't have a intellectual understanding of it. They just feel pressure, especially if they've been isolating and been going to Zoom school and haven't been, you know, it's really, really, really hard for kids. So it's not to be surprised that children feel these things very tense, very passionately. Also, they absorb all our fears and all our anxieties. So I told her she can't get stuck in negative thoughts if she chants herself to sleep. Yeah, that's nice. Love her and help her release those negative, the fears. It's not really only her fears, it's your fears, and it's the fears of the whole society. It's in the air. There's no quick cure for that. To some degree, there's some reality to those fears. We're screwing the planet up. We're screwing each other over. There's more hate and anger and violence and viciousness in people now than we've ever seen before. Maybe it's always been there, but it hasn't been in our faces. So very hard times for everybody. Children too. So just love her and let her, it's okay to feel these things. They come and they go. It's hard with kids, yeah. I don't understand why we need songs like this if we have so many variations of Hare Krishna Mahamantra songs. Is it because we aren't perfect and we get bored quickly? We'd seek for a new variation. I'm not really sure what you mean. Are you saying that we should just sing Hare Krishna Mahamantra because there's so many variations of it, we don't need to do anything else? Or are you saying that we're so imperfect and get bored so quickly, we want to do other things? Well, we do get bored quickly, and it's not just bored, but distracted. We get very distracted very easily. And so certainly changing the melodies and changing the rhythms help us pay attention and stay glued to the name a little bit, regardless of whichever chant it is. So it's certainly part of the technique. Not only are you singing, you're using your breath, you're hearing the sound of your voice and other voices, maybe, and that all helps you pay attention. All helps you stay home and hear, and which is where we're supposed to try to be, because that's where we are. So I'm not really sure what you were getting at with that question. What mantra do you think is ideal for someone starting meditation? Hare Krishna or Om Namah Shivaya? Whatever, the mantra you do is the one that's best. They're all, unless if you've been initiated by a guru in a particular path, that's the path you would be doing. If you haven't been initiated in any particular lineage, you can pick your own, one from column A, two from column B, whatever you want. But it's the doing of it that's important, and the mantra you do is the most important one to do. And personally, for me, all the mantras are the same in terms of technique. One mantra doesn't help me more than another, help me pay attention more than another. That's what I mean by they're all the same. Coming from that side, the technique side or the experiential side, one mantra or another doesn't help me pay attention better than another. They're all one name or another name. If I can pay attention, I can pay attention. They're all the same for that way. On the other hand, all these names are the names of different aspects of that one being of which we're all a part. So you can also appreciate the different qualities, but ultimately you have to leave the qualities thinking about the qualities behind. You have to leave the thinking about it behind and move into the presence of the name. Someone says, I find my spiritual commitments sometimes conflict with my ethics when it comes to acting or not acting. Should one always put their spiritual commitments above their moral ones? I don't know what you're talking about. I really don't know what you're referring to here. Real morality is spiritual. Real spirituality is moral. It's spiritual ethics, non-lying, ahimsa, non-hurting, non-harming, speaking the truth, compassion, kindness. These are the highest morals there can be. And they are the spiritual qualities as well. So I'm really not sure what you're talking about. Sorry. Do I still miss the physical form of Maharaji? Every moment. Every moment. And at the same time, I feel his presence. I was very attached to that body. And when he left that body, I didn't want to be alive anymore. And it took me a long time to come to terms with that. I see him in my mind. I feel him in my heart. I feel his presence. But that was the greatest 2.5 years I ever had. It was a new life, leaving America and going to India. And of course, I thought I was going to stay forever in India. I had no intention of coming back to America. So it was very, it was new, it's exciting. It was difficult and painful at times. But it was being with him and being with the Indian families and the devotees and being in India. For me, it was almost like reconnecting with a part of me that had been left behind when I got born in America. I once had this dream. I was coming back to Earth. I was reincarnating. I was coming back to Earth, coming back. And I was headed right to India. But at the last minute, I made a left turn and wound up in New York. That's kind of the way it was, And when I went back to India, for the first time, it was like I was home. And Maharaji was the biggest part of that, of course, because we found ourselves under his blanket of love. And it was remembering. It wasn't new. It was something we knew already. And reconnecting with that was so powerful. But everything changes, and the time for that reconnecting changed. Although I kept going to India for many years, up until COVID, I was going to India because I just love it there. And for me, I get a certain kind of joy just being there. But yeah, and so I miss those days in some way, but not that much. I'm much more at ease in myself now than I was then. Much more happier and more kinder to myself than I was in those days, at that age, 23, 24, 25, 26. So, but there are things about those days that I miss very much, So anyway. How to stay focused on intentions of correct spiritual work during daily stuff and during meditation when the mind wanders off. You just come back. You can't grab the mind and nail it down somewhere, but you just, when you notice you're gone, you come back. And that begins to happen more and more, and you begin to get used to feeling at home. And that feeling grows. So when you're not at home in your being, you notice it more and you come back. You let go of that and you come back. You just keep recognizing and coming back. That's the deal, all day long. And if you have the mantra going on, the names going on, you're chanting inside, that helps you come back, helps you stay here too. But it can't be hard. It's got to be a gentle coming back. Don't be judging yourself and putting yourself down, because if you're doing that, you're not here. You're lost in your stuff. Just come back again and again and again and again. It's not necessary to sing out loud. You can sing quietly, mentally, of course. They say that it's easier to pay attention at first if you're singing out loud. You're using your breath, you're using your voice, and you're hearing your voice also. So you're engaging more of your senses, the body, and so there's more things to pay attention to. As for beginners like us, mental repetition can be a little bit too subtle for us to really, really, really be with. So chanting out loud, or at least moving the lips, whispering quietly, making the sounds with the mouth, but very, very, all that will help you pay attention. Are there any realized beings alive in India? Well, only realized beings would know, so I don't know. Can you have a relationship without attachment? I know we are to be non-attached spiritually, but I don't see how personal relationships can be without attachment. Well, personal relationships obviously can't be without attachment, because you're already attached to thinking that you are that person having the relationship, or you feel you are you having a relationship with that one over there. So that's two things, interpersonal, and there's always attachment there, because you're also attached to who you think you are. In the true world, in reality, we are not who we think we are. And so there's no one to have a relationship with anybody else. You've become everything and everyone. Your being is the same as the being of every being in the world, in the universe. But when you're identified with your thoughts and emotions and the body, that's what has relationship. For a being, a great saint, there's no interpersonal relationship, because there's no person in there anymore. It might look like they're having personal relation, but there's no identification for that person, that being, with personality. So there's no attachment. Attachment is not, detachment is not cold and unfeeling. Actually, detachment means letting go of everything that limits us, everything that turns off the real love. Detachment means becoming identified with reality, recognizing that you are that. And then there can be no attachment anywhere for anything, not even for your own body. But for us in the world as human beings, yes, there's plenty of attachment everywhere. What you try to do, though, is to just, when you're dealing with another person, you try to let that person be who they are and not try to make them into who you need them to be. And you learn a lot about yourself by letting another person just be themselves. Because then you're also letting yourself just be you as you are. And you're dropping a lot of baggage that we carry around. You know, the story I always tell is when I was talking to Mr. Tiwari, my Indian father, my great teacher. And I was telling him how much I was in love with this woman. Blah, 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 blah. And he looked at me, he said, my boy, he said, relationships are business. Do your business, enjoy. Enjoy the relationship. But love, he said, love is what lasts 24 hours a day, every day of the year. Love doesn't come and go. You don't get love from someone else. You can get affection, kindness, caring, but love, real love, is our true nature. It's the same in everybody. You don't get it from anybody. We already have it. We just don't recognize it. Someone's writing here about they lost their father to COVID, and they had tried to bring him here to save him from the horror show in India with the terrible COVID that was going on. A person's time to leave the body is written when they're born. There's no slippage in that system. When a person goes, it's his time. No matter how he goes, how they go, that's the time to go. If they get hit by a truck, get COVID, any other way, that's the time is written. Only an enlightened being can change that, possibly, if it was the best thing to do for everybody. But that's a whole other story. So there's no reason to feel bad. You did what you could do for your father. You did your best, but it was his time. And perhaps you bringing him here and showing how much you loved him and care for him, that must have been very good for his heart, and very good for him, and made his last days much better than they could have been, much more richer and fuller, knowing that he was loved like that and cared for, and that you did all that. That's wonderful, and I'm sure that made him very happy. But it was his time. So what are you going to do? You did what you could, but you can't change the time of somebody leaving. But you showed how much you cared and loved for him, which is an extraordinary thing, a wonderful thing. So don't beat yourself up for that, because you did everything you could possibly do, but still, it was his time. You didn't know that. He didn't know that. And you did what you could, and you showed him how much you loved him. So take comfort in that. And it gave him much strength to know how much you care for him. Let's do the Hanuman mantra for a few minutes first. Ham Hanumate Namaha. Om Ham Hanumate Namaha. Om Hanumate. Om Ham Hanumate. Om Hanumate Namaha. Om Ham Hanumate Namaha. Om Ham Hanumate Namaha. Om Ham Hanumate. Om Ham Hanumate. Om Ham Hanumate Namaha. Om Ham Hanumate Namaha. Om Ham Hanumate Namaha. Om Ham Hanumate. Om Hanumate. Om Ham Hanumate Namaha. Om Ham Hanumate Namaha. Om Ham Hanumate Namaha. Om Ham Hanumate. Om Ham Hanumate. Om Ham Hanumate Namaha. Om Ham Hanumate Namaha. Om Ham Hanumate Namaha. Om Ham Hanumate. Om Ham Hanumate. Om Ham Hanumate Namaha. Om Ham Hanumate Namaha. Om Ham Hanumate Namaha. Om Ham Hanumate. Om Ham Hanumate. Om Ham Hanumate Namaha. Om Ham Hanumate Namaha. Om Ham Hanumate Om Hanumate Om Hanumate Om Hanumate I'm going to sing Shiva Stuti, Rudrashtakam. This is a hymn from the Ramayana, from Ramcharitmanas. And the story is, well, it's a very complicated story within a story within a story. But there was this Shiva devotee who was very arrogant, and he was sitting in the Shiva temple, and his guru walked in, and he didn't get up, even though he was pretending to meditate, and he knew his guru came in, but he didn't get up to show respect. And Shiva immediately manifested out of the lingam and cursed him. And his guru was so kind and so loving that he began to sing to Shiva and ask him to remove the curse. And so Shiva turned the curse actually into a blessing. So this is a prayer to Shiva, and Namami Shamesha Nirvana Rupam Vibham Vyapakam Brahma Veda Swarupam Nijam Nirgunam Nirvikalpam Niriham Chitakasham Akasha Vasam Bhajeham Nirakaram Omkaram Ulam turiyam kiragyan gotita nisham girisham karalam mahakala kalam kripalam punagara sansara param natoham tushara drisankasha karam gabiram manobhuta kotip prabhashri shariram Shvaran Molikalolin Charu Ganga Lasadbala Balendu Kantave Bujanga Chalat Kundalam Bhru Sunetram Vishalam Prasananam Nilakantam Dayalam Mraganisha charamambaram mandamalam Priyam Shankaram sarvanatham Bhajami Prachandam Prakrishtam Pragalbam Paresham Ajandam Ajambanu Koti Prakasham Triyashula Niramulana Shulapani Vajeham Bhavani Pati Bhavagamyam Kalat Kundala Kalatita Kalyana Kalapantakari Sada Sajanananda Tata Purari Chidananda Sandoha Moha Pahari Prasida, Prasida, Prabho Mamatari Mayavadumanat Padharavindam Pajanti Loke Parevanaranam Tavat Sukham Santam Santi Santapanasham Prasida Prabhu Sarva Bhuta Divasam Najanam Yogam Chapam Neva Pujam Natoham Sada Sarva Shambhutubhyam Charajanma Dukhauga Tatapyamanam Prabhu Pahiyapan Namamisha Shambho Rudrashtakmidam Pruktam Prenartoshe Ye Patanti Narabhaktya Tesham Shambhu Prasidate Karpuragaram Karunavataram Samsarasaram Bhujagendraharam Shambho Sada Shiva Shambho Sada Shiva Shambho Sada Shiva Shambho Sada Shambho Sada Shiva 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 Shambho Sada, 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 Shiva Shambho Sada. Calling out to hungry hearts everywhere through endless time. You who wander, you who thirst, I offer you this body mine. Calling out to hungry spirits everywhere through endless time. Calling out to hungry hearts, all the lost and the left behind. Gather round and share this meal, your joy and your sorrow, I make it mine. Shri Guru Charan Saroja Raja Chamanam Kuru Sudari Varano Raghubara Bamala Jasu Chodai Alachari Udnihin Tanu Janke Sumiram Bhavan Kumar Siaram Vallabhudhi Vidya Dehu Mohi Harahu Kalesa Ekar Yavara Ramachandra Parajay Sharanam Jaya Hanuman पीसती हूँ लोक पूजा रामदूत अतुलित बलधाम अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नाम महावीर विक्रम बजरंग मति निवार सुमति के संग कंचन वरण विराज सुबेश कानन कुंडल कुंचित केश हाथ वज्र ध्वजा विराज कांधे मूंज जनेऊ साज शंकर सुवन केसरी नंद तेज प्रताप महाजगबंद विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिबे को आतुर प्रभु चरित सुनिबे को रसिया राम लखन सीता बसी सूक्ष्म रूप दर्शिय हिंदका विकट रूप धर लंक जरा भीम रूप धरे असुर संहारे रामचंद्र के काज संवार आय संजीवन अकन जियाय श्री रघुवीर हर्षि उड़लाय रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बड़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरताय समभाई सबदन तुमरो जस गाओ सकई श्रीपति कंठ लगाओ सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीस नारद शारद सहित अहिस कुबेर दिगपाल जहान से कभी को विद कह सके कहां से उपकार सुग्रीवांकीन राम मिलाय राज्य पद दीन मरो मंत्र विभीषण मान लंकेश्वर मैं सब जग जान सहस्र जो जन परबान लील्योताय मधुर पल जान प्रभु मुद्रिका मिले मुख माही चल दिलांगे गए अक्षर जनाही दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हारे ते राम दुआरे तुम रखवार होतना आज्ञा बिन पैजार सब सुख लाहे तुम्हारी शरण तुम्हारा चक्काहू पोदर अपन तेज समारो आपे तीनों लोग कहाँ करते कंपे भूत पिशाचन कट नहीं आवे महावीर जब नाम सुना नासे रोग हरे सब पीर जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीर संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावे मन क्रम बचन ध्यान जो लावे सब पार राम तपस्वी राजा जिनके काज सकल तुम साजा और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे सोवे अमित जीवन पल पावे चारों युग पर ताप तुम्हारा है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियार साधु संत के मरखवारे असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे अष्ट सिद्धि नौ निधि के दाता सोवर दीन जानकी माता राम रसायन तुम्हारे पास सदा रहो रघुपति के दास, तुम्हारे भजन राम को पाओ, जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसराओ, अंत काल रघुवर पुर जाई, जहान जन्म हर भक्त कहाई। और देवता चित्त न डरे, हनुमत से सर्व सुख करे, संकट कटे मिटे सब पीर, जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलबीर। जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, कृपा करो गुरुदेव की नाई। जो सत बार पाठ कर को, छुत ही बंद महासुख होय। जो यावर हनुमान चालीस, होया सिद्धिदा की गणेश। तुलसीदास सदा हरिचेर, कीजे नाथ हृदय महादेव। पवन तनय संकट हरण, मंगल मूर्ति रूप सिया राम। राम लखन सीता सहित, हृदय बसो सुरभूप। यावर रामचंद्र पद जय शरणम, मंगल मूर्ति मारुत नंदन। सकल अमंगल मूल निकंदन, मंगल मूर्ति मारुत नंदन। सकल मंगल मूल निकंदन। श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम, 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 श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम। So, going to finish with the arti. This is a meditation on the Guru. It's a visualization, a meditation, a prayer, an invocation. I think the words are somewhere, and the translation is somewhere on my website for sure. I don't know if it'll be up here, but you should check it out. And it's a very, very, very powerful practice. It's a worship of the one who leads us from darkness to light. Jai Jagadish Hare, Swami Jai Jagadish Hare, Bhakta Janan Ke Sankat, Dina Janan Ke Sankat, Shaname Durakare, Om Jai Jagadish Hare. जो ध्यावे पल पावे, दुख बिन से मन का, दुख बिन से मन का, Sukha sampatti garave, Sukha sampatti gara ave, Kashtamite tanaka, Om Jai Jagadisha Hare. Mata Pita tum mere, Sharan Garuna ki saki, Amiran Garuna ki saki, Tuma bina aur na duja, Tuma bina aur na duja, Asha karun jaisaki, Jai Jagadish Hare. Tuma Purana Paramatma, Tumantarayami, Swami Tumantarayami, Parabrahma Parameshwar, Parabrahma Parameshwar, Tuma sabke Swami, Jai Jagadish Hare. Tuma karuna ke sagar, Tuma palana karta, Swami Tuma palana karta, Main sevak Tuma Swami, Main sevak Tuma Swami, Kripa karo bharata, Om Jai Jagadish Hare. Tuma ho ek agochar, sabke pranapati, Ami sabke pranapati, Kis vidhi milun daya maya, Kis vidhi milun daya maya, Tumko main kumati, Om Jai Jagadish Hare. Deen bandhu dukha harta, Tumhara kshaka mere, Tumhara kshaka mere, Apne haath uthao, Apne haath uthao, Dwara para tere, Om Jai Jagadish Hare. Vishaya vikaram mitao, Papaharo Deva, Swami Papaharo Deva, Shraddha Bhakti Barhao, Shraddha Bhakti Barhao, Santan ki seva, Om Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare, Bhakta Janan ke sankat, Dina Janan ke sankat, Kshana mein dura kare, Om Jai Jagadish Hare. Om Jai Jagadish Hare, Om Jai Jagadish Hare. Bole Siyamala Ramachandra ki jai, Shri Pavan Sut Hanuman ki jai, Shri Umapati Mahadev ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Banki Bihari Lal Shri Krishna Baladeva Bhagavan ki jai, Shri Shri Vindhyavasini Durga Devi Shri Siddhima Ki Jai. Shri 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 Babanim Karoli Santa Maharaja Ki Jai. Tvameva Mata Shapita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Saka Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. If I know anything about a path at all, if we know there might be a way to live in this world in a good way, with an open heart, without fear, if we know anything about that, it's only because of the great beings that have gone before us on this path. Out of their love, out of their kindness, they left some footprints for us to follow. So, in the same way that they wish for us, in the same way that they wish for us, we wish that all beings everywhere, all of us, be safe, be happy, that all of us have good health and enough to eat. And may we all live in peace and at ease of heart, with whatever comes to us in life. Chanting, chanting, chanting. Namaste.